motherfucking trailer.
Would you like to see Gorosaurus vs. Man, the solo trilogy from Toho? No, I would not, because nobody gives a shit about those two monsters. So let's be real, honestly. With the exception of a handful of Toho monsters, a lot of them really suck.
To stop the motherfucking lie.
Look at this guy's got glasses. Oh, a sophisticated zombie.
I heard Rodan's in here. I don't know if I don't know if I missed him.
I missed Rodan. On top of the volcano, I missed Rodan. Flying over the water, I missed Rodan. He's been confirmed, established 2014, right here on E.T.N motherfucking N.
I have only ever loved one woman. And it ain't you, bitch. Poof. Bye-bye. Have a nice trip. See you next fall, because winter's coming.
I figured, I thought it was pretty good. I thought I liked it. I enjoyed it. And number one is Godzilla. Godzilla?
Motherfucking trailer. Right, happy Friday night, everybody. Ooh. What is to be one of the final streams before I break down the camera and get my ass moving to the new house. Woo. All right.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?
Yes. Yep. We'll focus on the birthday tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the birthday stream. We'll have fun. I'm gonna have some drinks with you guys, have dinner. We'll just shoot the shit about whatever. Just keep it very simple, because, man, I have been low energy for the last couple of weeks, especially now. I didn't tell everybody, but we moved the moving date up by 2 weeks. So we're actually moving 2 weeks from tomorrow on the 16th of December. So we got a lot of hustling to do the next 2 weeks. Monday, we close the house out. We get the keys. I got a lot of pictures. We'll show you guys a little bit later, or I'll show you tomorrow, since it's going to be more of a general stream tomorrow. This is a little birthday celebration. My wife's cooking me a nice seafood Alfredo lasagna. That's going to be some good shit right there. Seafood Alfredo lasagna is on the menu tomorrow. I'm getting myself a 6-pack. We're going to chill. We can talk about Godzilla. I'll talk about the house. I'll show you guys all the new pictures. For those who haven't seen them yet, I did post them on my personal Facebook page, but not on the Nation and not on Twitter, or X rather. So All right, we're gonna get into heavy spoiler talks for Godzilla -1. We're gonna start with Monarch. Because that's gonna be shorter. I know that Godzilla -1 is gonna take up the entirety of the stream once we start talking about it. So I'm gonna keep it very brief for Monarch episode 4. I thought it was a solid episode, but the weakest one of the first 4. It was nice to get a little bit of context and a little bit of background on May and Kentaro, but I honestly can't say that I care as much about their backstory as I do about Shaw and even Kate to some extent, since Kate was actually there when the San Francisco event happened. I thought the monster stuff was cool. I like the dynamic of, even though it's like kind of like an ice type monster, it feeds on fire. I thought that was a pretty cool concept. And I do like the cliffhanger at the end. The fact that Monarch finally got who they were looking for. And we're going to see that dynamic now that Shaw's there. That adds it more to the mix. So we're going to see how things open up. I do think this episode was like this to set up bigger things to come. I think episode 5 is going to be pretty big. So I'm looking forward to episode 4. Episode 5. I think episode 4 was good, but out of the 4, it's the weakest one. It's the weakest one because we kind of stretched out what was going on in where they were. I do like some of the cinematography, like when Kentaro was kind of hallucinating and things like that. I thought that was good. I thought the dynamic with what are you doing? Where'd you find that? In the kitchen or in the bedroom? All right, make sure you put it back and only take one. I did. All right. Why, these yours? No, it's just I want to make sure you don't overindulge. So, Iron Wolf, thank you for the sub. So, also, obviously, my birthday cake's on the menu tomorrow. So I thought it was a somewhat of a filler episode. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't as strong as the other 3. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into Godzilla -1, because I know people are still curious as to whether or not I like the movie, because I didn't directly say that on my video. And I don't like to just come out right away. I like to give it some thought, because there are, I do have thoughts about certain things in the movie. So I'm going to actually go into spoilers, because I can't really talk about this movie without talking about spoilers, because there's a lot of underneath the surface things going on in this movie that I think have more meaning than surface level. So I'm going to start off with the story, which I think is probably the highlight of the movie. This is one of the best stories that Toho has told in a long, long time. And I would say, obviously, the 3 main characters being Koichi, being what's her name? God, I was saying it before the stream just so I could make sure I remembered it, and now it's I'm drawing a blank. I know the little girl is Akiko, and I'm not looking at chat because I want to make sure I remember. I know people are gonna say in the chat. I'm not gonna look. Noriko, there it goes. Okay, I knew it would come back to me. Yeah. See, I knew you motherfuckers would say it in chat. You wouldn't give me a chance to remember. That's why I looked away. Okay, so this is a very good Godzilla movie. This is one of the best Toho Godzilla movies they've done in a long time. This really puts Shin Gojira on the back burner, in my opinion, and simply because you have characters that you care about. You know what I mean? Like, that was the problem for me with Shin Gojira, was there was no characters to care about. It was basically just an assortment of characters without any depth behind it, without depth behind them. And then you had Godzilla, which was the highlight of the movie. I'm trying to see where I want to start in terms of the story that really, well, I'll go in pieces here. The World War II effect on Japan in this movie and the way they kind of worked the story into that surrounding was excellently done. The World War II plane, the Zero, the storyline behind the kamikazes. And I do love the fact that this movie depicted primarily Japan. You know what I mean? Like, America was only mentioned in hindsight in terms of dealing with the monster. There's some truth to what they were saying in the movie to the real world events of what happened in World War II. For example, the United States was very concerned about Soviet Union moving in on Japan. That was the truth. That's a true thing. That actually that's actually one of the reasons they dropped the bomb. They did not want to. They never wanted to invade Japan because they knew that millions upon millions of people would die, not only on the American side but also the Japanese side, and there would have been a higher cost of civilian lives killed, believe it or not, versus the bomb, because every civilian in Japan was ready to fight. So you were looking at massive upon massive amounts of casualties. The other thing was, if they had invaded, Japan would have been invaded from the north by Soviet Union, which would have added to the casualties for Japanese civilians. So America never wanted that. So the idea that America in this movie was mentioned in hindsight as being concerned about Russia and focusing on Russia and why they couldn't help the Japanese is on point. But the other thing I liked was also the Japanese people in this movie and how they started to view their government. Because this is something that other Godzilla movies haven't really done, outside of maybe like Shin Gojira, but that was more so concentrated on how they reacted. That was kind of like a slight on how they reacted to the meltdown that happened years ago, where this is more how people were feeling about the government at that time. See, they started to be a little bit more on the screw the government type shit. That was never the case before World War II. That was everybody was behind the government when they were expanding, when they were going into China and all that stuff. 100% public support. So now it makes sense, because what Japanese people realized after the events of 1945 was that the government was willing to sacrifice them in order to continue fighting. It is true, there were no parachutes in kamikaze planes. Pilots were being asked to sacrifice themselves really for no reason, because once it got to the point that they were using kamikaze planes, the United States had already taken over Southeast Asia. They already had moved in on Japan. It was really a losing fight, which is why Truman, was it Truman at the time? Might have been Truman, kept pressing the issue about them surrendering. Anyway, so those little elements tying the movie into some of the underbelly of what happened post-World War II and the American occupation, loved it. Loved it, because it also shows that, I like that because it shows that Japanese took some responsibility. You know what I mean? Even though I always hate the idea of America getting shit on for dropping the nukes. As bad as that was, I hate it because people don't realize that their hand was forced. This movie kind of shows a little bit of that, and that's what I liked. I'm like, good. We not only do we see it from the Japanese perspective, but we also see that the Japanese people weren't exactly on the government side even after the bomb was dropped. They didn't like that America did that, but some of them actually understood that their hand was forced. Anyway, rolling that into the character of Kochi and his fear. All right.
I'll take her out when I get back.
Okay, that's fine. Love you.
Love you too.
Have fun. Rolling that into Koichi's character from the very beginning and his arc through the movie was great, because here's a man who lands on an island. He's being questioned about whether or not, his plane really had any issues, when we know that he was just, look, who wants to just dive bomb into a boat or into a ship and kill hundreds of people and sacrifice yourself? What is the meaning of it at this point? One of the engineers there even agreed with him when he was sitting by the water, and he said, I'm on your side. He didn't say it openly to his other guys, but he said it to him. Then this young Godzilla appears, right? And this is what I really enjoyed about this Godzilla. This is the Godzilla I've kind of been waiting to see. All right? Comes in, starts wrecking shit, I probably would have preferred he ate one of the men, but the fact that he was chomping on them and chucking them all over the place and yeeting them was great. Loved it. Been waiting to see stuff like that for a long time. And then Koichi obviously cowers out. Probably could have saved them, but I think the fear of him dying, like he was afraid that he himself would die if he did that. So he's a coward. Right out the gate, he's a coward. Goes back to Japan, finds out his parents are probably dead. His neighbor shames him. There was, and again, this is something else that is very true. There was no reason for any kamikaze pilot to be alive. So when he came back alive, and it's known that he's a kamikaze pilot, he gets shamed by his neighbor. And that was, again, good stuff to tie into real world events. He's shamed for not being there, for being there. There's no understanding from anyone else outside of him that to sacrifice your life for a lost cause is just dumb. It's dumb. Then he gets the baby, Akiko, at a very, very young age. And then he meets Noriko. And I like the opening of this movie, the sequencing, time passing, them kind of becoming a pseudo family. And pseudo meaning, obviously you guys all know that I've seen it. Akiko's not the daughter. And they are not married. He just took care of her. He just let her stay where he lived. It was one of the few places that had a place to live. And I like how they did a good enough job showing you the development of their three-way relationship. Yes, they're not married. Yes, that's not their daughter, but they naturally become a pseudo family. He is the breadwinner, right? She's raising Akiko, and he supports them both. And he gets a job shooting down mines. Again, I know you guys all know this. I'm going through a lot of the things that I like about this movie. And I love that dynamic. I'm going to say this is a compliment to more older school movies than more current movies, but that time sequence and the music that they played and how they showed them, that is very, very American cinema inspired right there. Like when I saw that, I'm like, wow, I felt like I was watching an American movie. Just the way it was filmed. I don't know why I got that feeling. I just did. When you've seen older, and again, not these current last 10 years of superhero shit and all that stuff. I say shit. I love the superhero stuff, not the current stuff. But I'm talking about a good movie that is building a good arc, a good story, good characters, and you show a time lapse and you show them growing and stuff like that. That's kind of what I mean. You don't get a whole lot of that now anymore. Then we get to I believe it was like 1951 or 52. He's been working this job for a couple of years. I think they said in the movie they had like 60,000 mines they had to get rid of. So obviously that's going to take a lot of time. And he's making money. They're thriving. Japan is starting to rebuild. And this is the part I like the most because there's a very subtle underlying romance. It's so subtle. And I love it because it's very organic. You know what I mean? You would think two people who have taken care of each other, two people who have come together under tragedy and are about as close as you can get to a marriage without actually being married, you think it would be natural for them to come together eventually and just fall in love. And it's so subtle that you see that develop. I absolutely think that is fucking cinematic gold. Cinematic gold. I was so in love with that. You know why? Because it wasn't in your face. It wasn't forced. It wasn't like, oh, well, they naturally have to fall in love. No. They don't have to. But it's starting to bloom. You know what I mean? It starts to bloom. And you see it. And it's so subtle. And I loved it. Especially when they were at the dinner table with all his working colleagues. And they accidentally said, like, oh, well, your wife. And he's like, well, that's not my wife. She just came here one day and I was taking care of her. And then they show that beautiful shot of her in the background doing the dishes after she served everybody. She's literally acting like a wife. But I love that shot because they pause it at her from the back, and you know right then and there that she is thinking otherwise. She does have feelings for him. She does want to be married to him. It's just perfect. I was like almost in tears just because of how much I love that, because this is the kind of storytelling and the kind of character develop that we have not gotten in American cinemas, and feels like in forever. So wonderful story and development there. And then you start to learn more about Koichi. Why isn't he moving forward? There have been years past. He's got a stable job. He seems to be doing good. But it is that inner anguish. He cannot move forward in his life because he cannot get over the fact that he cowered it out and it caused the death of other people. That he feels responsible for not only not sacrificing himself and doing his kamikaze job, but then on top of that, having an opportunity to actually save people, and he folded. And he cannot move forward with Noriko until that dark part of his life is gone. And up to a certain point in this movie, there's no opportunity for him to ever get rid of that demon, which is why after 5 years that they've been together, he has not pursued her for marriage. He has not moved forward. Hell, at the dinner table, Akiko called him daddy, and he still refused to acknowledge that. Not only is that it's heartbreaking for a multitude of reasons. Number one, the little girl. Number two, the fact that you know that deep down inside, Koichi sees that as his daughter. But he doesn't want to accept that part of his life yet because he doesn't feel he deserves it. That is the premise of Koichi's journey. He doesn't feel he deserves a happy life with a beautiful wife, who, by the way, Noriko, I don't know the actress's name, but she is absolutely gorgeous. He does not feel he deserves a beautiful wife, a beautiful child, and a stable life because of what he did, what he feels he did. Then we start to see that maybe Noriko is going to move on. She gets a job. He's a little taken back by this. Actually, before I get to that, I'm trying to remember I want to try and make sure I keep this in sequence. Okay, it is before she goes and finds that new job. There is that powerful scene between Noriko and Koichi where he's having a hard time. This is after the first sequence where they encounter Godzilla in the water. This is when they find out about the United States and this and that. So quickly to go through the encounter in the water. It's good. You know, we've all seen it already. So for me, it wasn't like very impactful because I had seen the scene pretty much. I'll get to my criticisms on the movie because I want to make it very clear. This movie is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want you guys thinking I'm sizing it up like a lot of other people. No. We're going to get to that shit. But I want to make sure I thoroughly highlight what I loved about the movie and what I think, to me, has more substance than Godzilla in and of himself. To me, in this movie, Godzilla is the least interesting thing. I'm going to keep it real. And the reason for that is actually Toho's fault for releasing all his footage in trailers. You know what I mean? That's not to say I didn't like Godzilla scenes. There are a lot of things I like, but again, we'll get to that. Anyway, so the water scene or the ocean scene, that was cool. I was, you know, he jaw broke open, he healed up. I do like the fact that they highlight Godzilla's regeneration. This is something he's always had, but they've never really focused on it until this movie. So I do like that. I think that answers a lot of questions for maybe newbie Godzilla fans who always wondered, how the fuck does he survive all this? How is he so durable? Godzilla's always been known to regenerate. It's just now you can actually see it, and I think that's a good thing. So he has the encounter with Godzilla. He knows that this is the Godzilla that he encountered years ago on Oda Island. So now it's all rushing back, right? Just when he's accepting the fact that he's okay and maybe he can move on, it all rushes back. Godzilla's back. All the memories come back. His cowardice comes back. And he finally opens up and breaks down to Noriko about Godzilla. He tells her, not directly, and I love this. This part this part got me emotional when she grabs him and she shakes him and she says, "You deserve to live. You know, you need to live." I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact line, but I remember that she's basically telling him, "You need to live. You need to move on." Essentially, is what she's trying to say. And she's shaking him. It's like she's telling him, "Wake up! I'm here. You have like a stepdaughter. It's time to live. It's time to move on." But he can't, especially now. That was probably the best scene in the movie in terms of character development. I mean, this is the kind of shit that if this is over in the United States, if this is a United States release movie, I mean, you're talking about best supporting actor in Noriko and best actor in Koichi for like Oscar nominations. I mean, this is solid stuff. So she finally decides that maybe she should move on. Maybe he's damaged goods. So she gets a job and she's going to start, and she says to him, she said it right there. She's like, there's no way you're going to find a wife if I'm around. Like, essentially that's what she's saying, which is just another way of her saying, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm here. I've been taking care of you. I've been playing the wife role. I have feelings for you. Let's move it." Again, Koichi can't do it. He doesn't feel like he deserves it. She goes to work and Godzilla finally arrives. And the sequence that we all saw online. Now, what I will say, now we'll get into the Godzilla stuff, right? Now, what I will say is you could tell Toho had fun with the CGI. I mean, Godzilla's movement, the way he was wrecking shit. I mean, this is why I've been arguing for years that a CG Godzilla is way better than a Godzilla in a suit for a multitude of reasons. And now, I like how now a lot of people who are against that argument are now catching up. They're now seeing the benefit. I mean, there was a part where Godzilla did like this Shoryuken uppercut on a building. Like, he punched it down and then he came up with I mean, you've never seen him do that before. The deliberate actions he was taking, he wasn't just trudging through buildings. He was knocking them out of his way. He was going after the train like he did, chucking shit around, whipping his tail to knock buildings down. I mean, he had intent. This was a very intent Godzilla that I love very much because that's the kind of stuff I've been asking for years. Noriko surprisingly survives, and she is so close to what's going on that she essentially gives up. She gives up. She's sitting there in the middle of the street. She's ready to be taken out by Godzilla, and Koichi arrives to save her after, obviously, he heard on the radio that where she specifically was going to be attacked. I'm trying to remember the name of the city. Is it Ganza? Something like that. Not Ganza. It starts with a G, I think. Somebody in the chat will remember. So he saves her, and he gets her, and hey, let's go, let's run. They run. Ginza, thank you very much. They're running, and then boom, 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 boom. The tanks arrive. They start hitting Godzilla. Godzilla's not happy about that. And then we see the buildup. Now, I know I see a lot of people shitting on the MonsterVerse now because of Godzilla -1. I can't do that. When I see this movie, I also appreciate, it actually makes me appreciate the MonsterVerse even more because it forced Toho's hand to get creative. The MonsterVerse put Godzilla in a certain light that Toho had never done prior to this movie. And there are so many MonsterVerse inspirations in this. The fact that people are shitting on the MonsterVerse, to me, is like just I understand your fandom gets you excited for a movie, but I personally want to thank Legendary and the Monsterverse even more because it brought the best out of Toho. That sequence where he's doing his atomic breath is right out of the Monsterverse playbook. And I know for a fact that Toho wanted to have some different, they wanted to differentiate it, which is why we got the spikes going up. But beyond the spikes going up, that is a clear Monsterverse. You have never seen a Toho Godzilla build up his atomic breath from the tail up. You've never seen that. It's always either a flash and then, or just it lights up. That build up was completely inspired by the Monsterverse. So let's give credit where credit's due. With that said, I also want to take this opportunity to pat myself on the back because about 3 or 4 months ago, I made a video about this being the strongest atomic breath Godzilla's ever had and how the effects are actually, everybody thought that scene there was a nuke being dropped. To some extent it was, but it was from Godzilla. That atomic breath is incredibly powerful. We got a taste of it in the ocean, but when he did that, the explosion was insane. And then Noriko saves Koichi. She gets blown away, essentially dead. And then from this point forward, I sat there and I thought to myself, my original ranking of my favorite Godzilla movies has 1954 at number 1, 1984 at number 2, and 2014 at number 3. At that moment, I put -1 at number 2, behind 1954, as my second favorite Godzilla movie of all time. However, then comes the third act, and this is when the movie starts to trend downhill for me. I'm sorry to say. At this point, the movie is fire. Absolute fire. After the attack at Ginza, after Noriko's killed, after Koichi's saved, and it starts to kind of go downhill. Now, that doesn't mean the movie's terrible. That doesn't mean I didn't like the whole third act. No, there's a lot of things in the third act I like, but it takes too long to get the resolution. It takes way too long. The movie really started to kind of slow down for me at that point. The pacing up until the attack in the city was just perfect. Was loving the story. I think for me, shifting away, I mean, because at this point you think Noriko's dead. Remember, we're talking spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the movie, obviously we find out later on in the movie that she lives. If that's your intention, I think it did more, in my opinion now, I know you guys love the movie and it's the bee's knees, but for me, because I was so interested in the dynamic between those three characters, the fact that there was such a long gap before seeing her again, if your intent was to keep her alive, I think that did more harm than good. The build-up and the planning to take out Godzilla, I think, was too much. It was not only was it for me overly complicated, and when I say that, I don't mean complicated to understand. I understood what they were doing, but when you have a movie that is so grounded like this, when you have a movie like this that is taking itself seriously, and on top of that, it's succeeding, right? As a kaiju film, to end it with this very convoluted fucking plan was a disappointment. Now, to be fair, I thought the elements of how they got the people together, how it was not the government, but the people doing it, that was great. That was fantastic. I love Koichi's return arc. That wasn't the issue. The issue is we took too long to get there, and then when we got there, this to me is a Showa like solution. You understand? So to have me so high and to be having such a great success in delivering a heartfelt, emotional, grounded Godzilla movie that is literally pulling at my gut and my heart, that right now at this point I'm shifting it to almost number one. Number two, definitely. Then we get a slow slog to the end. We get a Showa solution to the end. It doesn't mean I hate the movie. I don't. I love this movie. I think it's one of the best Godzilla movies ever made. But now I'm at a struggle. Because while you guys, and again, you guys are entitled to feel the way you feel. I get it. For me personally, I'm at a struggle as to whether or not I put this even in front of 2014. Here's why. On one hand, with Godzilla Minus One, we have a story that I think we'd all agree just completely destroys 2014, right? I think we could all agree that Godzilla's Minus One story, even if it falters for me at the end, like it did, destroys 2014 story by a mile. By a mile, there's no even a debate of that. There's no question. I think everyone agrees. However, when I leave Minus One versus when I left 2014, how did I feel? And I got to be honest, 2014 ends on an uptrend. The ending sequence for 2014 is just phenomenal. This, it's not a horrible ending, but I can't say that I felt I can't say that I felt as, whoa, you know what I mean? Then there's one scene in this movie that I remember that changed the dynamic of the ending. And I noticed it right away when it happened. And I can't say that it improves the ending. It definitely doesn't extract from it. I think it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's the right ending, right? So it's not the ending of the movie per se, like the last, like I would say 5 minutes. It's that downtrend leading up to the solution for Godzilla and then the solution Godzilla. That's where it kind of lost points for me, you know, because towards the end of the movie, I'm like, you know what I mean? Setting up the plane, finding the mechanic, you know. Again, the acting is still good, you know. The what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of Koichi and the character, the arc is still good because he got the demon off his back. He's ready to move on, finally move forward because he's nearly sacrificed himself. But he came through when basically the whole country needed him. So that's bigger than failing to save 5 men. He basically saved the whole country. So that arc, Koichi's arc, that performance, that's great. Everything with the character Koichi, the character Noriko, and the little girl, and a couple of supporting characters. I'm gonna call him a professor. I forget his name. I don't know if it was a short, like one syllable name, but I can't remember it. But basically, the character everybody thought was Dr. Serizawa, and that's another point I want to give this movie. It's not a reboot. It's not a remaster. It's just a different tale of Godzilla. I love that because it was kind of driving me crazy that early on, like months ago, people were like, oh, this must be Dr. Serizawa, and I wonder if he's going to make the oxygen. It's like so many people were kind of chomping on the bit that this was some sort of remake, and this is just a completely different movie in and of itself. Noted. Thank you, Steven. So I thought he was a good character too, very good supporting character. That little group that he worked with, all those actors were solid too. So overall, this is a fantastic Godzilla movie. This is just a wonderful experience. I love the emotional highs and lows. If I can't rank it now, I actually got to go see 2014. Because 2014 kind of is in the opposite direction. 2014 actually it's more like a roller coaster. So it starts strong. Once you get to Bryan Cranston dying, it kind of starts to really trend downhill. And then once you get to San Francisco, it starts trending up. And it has a great ending sequence. Where this movie starts off, it trends. You get to the city, great action sequence, fantastic visuals, and then once that's over, it starts to dip. And then I would say it cuts off and levels off at the very end when he's reunited with Noriko, and you get a very somber ending. So yeah. So much for a pre-mutated Godzilla looking like a whale. Yeah, well, that was like, what, 2 years ago? Yeah, that was a leak. And again, this is why leaks, you read them, you enjoy them. If they come to fruition, great. Most times they don't. And of course, in this case, it did not. So there were no 2 Godzillas, obviously. That still would have been a very good storyline. Maybe they'll do that one day. Now, I mentioned in my short video earlier that there's one sequence in this movie that kind of changed the dynamic of how I see things. And this is why those performances and the character development of these characters meant a lot to me. And that's because they're all dead. They're all dead. Everybody in this movie, the ones fighting Godzilla. By the way, I do want to give one quick criticism. When the tugboats arrived in the movie, they went from arriving to out of nowhere being attached to the 2 ships. That the time they had before Godzilla was going to regenerate under the water, remember they were on the clock to pull him up above the water? There was a timer there. So the tugboats arrived, and then out of nowhere, they're attached to the ships. Just completely took me out of, this is what I'm saying. Of course, we've all seen worse endings. It's not like, oh, this ending sucks. It just really, really kind of fucked up the flow for me. So that was like, oh, come on, guys. At this point, you were right. You're doing so good. And then, man, that ending, that third act is really weak. Really, really weak. But the fact is that they're all dead. Noriko, the little girl, maybe the little girl, I don't know. I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. Noriko, Koichi, they're dead. They're reunited. She looks fine. She got bumps and bruises. She's covered. They're dead. They're dead already. It was the Black Rain is what made me change my view on this movie. It actually made the ending hurt more. And this is why I get so upset about the ending sequence. That 3 seconds where they show the Black Rain, when I saw that, that was like a stab in the heart. Because right there at that point, I knew what that meant. And it was such a subtle, short addition to the movie. And if you know what that means, you know exactly what's happening to everybody who is anywhere near Godzilla. They are dead. They're basically dead. They're basically the Walking Dead. Within 10 years, maybe even 5 years, Koichi, the little girl, because she's near them, and Noriko are going to start to develop side effects from radiation poisoning. And that to me means that despite the fact that they're together, despite the fact that he already is ready to move on and live, he is dead. She is dead. That little girl may live, but she's going to live a very painful life. All those people that were in the vicinity of any Godzilla atomic breath, if they lived, they are essentially walking dead. So it was the Black Rain that fell when Koichi was, and I love the fact, if you remember the trailers, they show in the trailer Koichi on his knees yelling, but they cut it off right before the Black Rain starts. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, this is a good director. He's basically implementing all the things that happened during the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing without directly doing it, without it being in your face. It's very subtle. Even Godzilla's atomic breath, I said it 4 months ago. His breath is a nuke. He is the nuke. Godzilla is the bomb. And that kind of decision making, that kind of implementation of subtle detail, this is a movie that has very powerful surface level storytelling, but there's so much depth and so much, it's like an iceberg, right? We're kind of doing an iceberg right now. There's so much underneath the surface, and some of it does require World War II knowledge, right? And you guys know how big I am on World War II. We've talked about that before. So for me, this was a joy to watch in that aspect. But man, let me tell you something. When I saw the black rain come down, I almost choked up, because right then and there, no matter how the story ends, it's going to be tragic. For me, I left the theater knowing no matter what kind of happy ending they would have given, and they gave a very like bittersweet ending, no matter how, I already knew what's happening to these people 5 to 10 years from now. So this movie was almost perfect, right? That third act is a big weak link, because to go on a trend like this, I mean, a high trend, man. I'm talking about not for a foreign film. I'm talking for a film in general, compared to American films, whatever. To get to such a high point and then really start to drop off, it was tough. It was tough. That third act for me was tough. Again, for me personally. So right now, it's going to be in the top 5 for me, one way or the other. It's not going to beat 54. That'll never happen. It came very close, and if they had stuck that landing at the third act, we might be having a different conversation. So it doesn't beat 54. 84, while it has a much more higher beats than 84, 84 consistently was good from beginning to end. The characters were not as strong, but they were still developed enough so that you cared about them. And the Godzilla solution was basic, simple. It wasn't anything convoluted or over the top. All right. They scientifically found a way to lure Godzilla to a volcano that, when he was trying to chase the sound, he fell in. They sealed it. He wasn't dead, but he was gone for a while until he woke up in, what was it, 89, and started, the whole Biollante saga. So 84 has, to me, good consistency. Godzilla -1 is a roller coaster ride of emotions, but its dip came at the worst time. It's almost like, how in the movie they say that once you go through like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and the climax should be up here. They kind of hit their climax after the city was destroyed, and then from there it started to teeter off downhill. And that, to me, is where it loses a lot of its points. That first hour and 15 minutes were magic, complete magic. The last 45 minutes, again, it just, the tugboats out of nowhere being magically attached to the ships. I think they could have came up with a better plan to end the movie and trying to stop Godzilla. I don't think you needed the whole tease of Godzilla coming back. Just leave it the way it is. Leave it up in the air. I thought that was something else. Like, I was like, we all know at this point he's going to come back. So showing him regenerating, just leave it. Don't even show him. Just make everybody think, oh yeah. Because you know what? The ending's already tragic, right? We don't need the idea of Godzilla. To me, Godzilla's not even the important part of this movie. He is the result of something bigger. A very fun result to watch, a very dynamic thing to watch, right? But this is not about him mainly. So I don't think the little tease of him returning, I don't think that was necessary. It's one of the first times I see a Godzilla tease at the end of the movie, and I thought it didn't fit. Because by this time, he's coming back. We don't need to be seen. So didn't like that. Didn't like the tugboats being Harry Potter magically attached to the ships. I thought the plan to try and trap him was just, they could have come up with something better. it just was, I don't know. It was just kind of stupid. You know, it was kind of dumb, to be honest. The time it took to get there was, oof, what a slog. They could have shaved off a good 10 minutes and it would have been perfectly fine. Again, it's not horrible. It doesn't suck. It just, it degrounds the movie a little bit. So, but overall, I give Toho props, man. This is one of the best Godzilla movies they've made in eons. And I don't know if I rank it as my 3 or 4. Right now, it's tied with 2014 as my number 3 movie. And because, again, story-wise, Godzilla Minus One is far superior, but that ending trend does matter. It does matter. And Godzilla 2014's ending trends upward. Godzilla Minus One trends downward. But that's it. That's how I feel about the movie. Oh yeah, on your left, the tugboats. Yeah, that kind of felt that way. A scene showing the tugboats being attached probably was filmed, but then cut for time. Yeah, there was some stuff towards the end they should have cut. There was some fat there that they should have cut. They should have found a way to shorten it. Because it's one thing if the movie's, again, I'm not saying for all you guys, for me, it's one thing if the movie's trending down, but what makes it worse is if it's trending down and if it's taking too long. So, you know, Rob, don't forget that plan was done and funded by the people and not the government. So it was easily going to be very basic without government resources. Okay, that doesn't change the fact that it was a very Showa-esque resolution to Godzilla. And that's, and look, I love Showa and I love serious Godzilla movies. That doesn't mean they blend together. They don't always blend together. Most times they don't blend together at all. So, yeah, I understand it was done by the people and not the government. However, that doesn't mean that tugboats can be magically attached to ships. And if they are using a lot of resources from the public, this is a city that's still growing. This is a city that's still rebuilding. Where do you find the money and the resources to even pull this off? You understand? I mean, because if you're gonna pull out really deep details like that to kind of try and give an excuse to, then we can go deep down the rabbit hole and I can find 50 reasons as to why they would never pull this shit off. I'm not going to do that because when you go to a movie, you have to accept some form of leaving your imagination behind. So I accept the fact that they were able to plan something and pull it off without government funding. But if you really want to get down to it, what resources? The money that Koichi was making was government paid. So the idea of and this was a small group of people. It's not like they had 10, 20, 30,000 people helping. There was a small group of people to pull this shit off. So, I mean, you know, with that said, I'm not going to pull the trigger and say, oh, there's no. That's fine. They pulled it off. You know, it was a good, feel-good moment of people coming together. I don't want to take that away. Don't put me in a position to take that away by trying to make an excuse as to why it makes sense. It really kind of doesn't. And I don't want to go further down that rabbit hole because then it's going to make me kind of think of the movie in a light that I really don't want to, you know, because I do like the movie a great deal. Rob, what are your thoughts on the music score of the movie? I thought it was, the music was great. That wasn't an issue at all. In fact, the music was so good that when Godzilla showed up and they played the band, I was actually kind of disappointed. I thought the other music was more fitting. With that said, that doesn't mean I didn't like it. Obviously, that's a classic. I just would have liked to, you know, they don't, that music's classic. It'll always be there. That doesn't mean they always have to use it. because the score beyond that was really good.
You are one awesome motherfucker. Mecha Godzilla super chatted $9.99. Hey Rob, what are your thoughts on the music score of the movie? I thought it was fantastic.
Sorry, I was getting. I thought the way they took him out at the end was fine for me personally. I like the way they explain how he floats, but that's just me.
You are one awesome motherfucker.
I can see the convoluted part of the third act. I can see, but it's very minor to me, and this is firmly number 2 all time for me behind 54. Yeah, I think the reason it affects me more than I think it will other people is because of how impactful the story was for me at that point. Because it wasn't just what I was seeing with like the main characters, it was also how the effects of World War II and the underdevelopment of how it came together. World War II means a lot to me. That whole timeline means a great deal to me because of what would have happened if we had lost. And obviously the Japanese people and their suffering, not only at the hands of the bombing, but at the hands of their own government. So this was like peak storytelling that they were intertwining with real events. And I love when movies that either use history or tell movies of historic events stay very true to those events and the effects of those events on the people that you wouldn't see in the record books. So to go from something so powerful and so dynamic and such a real and rich feeling to then go to dumping Godzilla into the bottom of the ocean and then floating him up with a bunch of balloons, I think you can understand my view, hopefully. I'm not trying to sound egotistical. I don't think my criticism is bad. I think my criticism is fair. The logic behind the oxygen destroyer for me made a lot more sense. First of all, the person that built it was a scientist. Second of all, it was in development for a long time. The oxygen destroyer was not something they came up with in 2 seconds. Okay, this was something they just came up with. So, and they had 10 days. All right, he estimated 10 days. I will say though, Godzilla looked wicked sick when he came out the water. Oh my God, he looked like freakish. I agree with you, Rob. The third act dragged too long and did knock a few points for me. Yeah, and not only that, like I said, the third act was a slog as fuck. Like, you really missed Noriko in that third act. Now, had she already been dead and she never came back at the end, all right. But now knowing that she came back, I'm like, well, why the fuck did we take so long to get to that? You know what I mean? Like, again, for me. But it wasn't just that. It just dragged, man. It took a long time to get to that end sequence. When they were explaining the plan to deal with Godzilla, a few people in my cinema groaned. Yeah, well, and that's understandable, right? Because, again, not only is it slow, but the plan just... The feeling of the plan to take him out does not match the level. Like, Godzilla as a threat in this movie was built up so high, you would think the plan to try and take him out would have to be huge, would have to be so not off the wall, but it would take so many resources and so much involvement that I'm telling you, man, it just, again, for me, it just... But also, these people only had 10 days, and also he got there before they were ready. Yeah, which makes it even crazier. I'm not necessarily saying the third act was bad. What I'm saying is when you get on a roller coaster and it's up here, and then, well, roller coasters maybe not a good example because roller coasters go up like this. What I'm saying basically is that the first 2 acts of the movie were so strong, they just didn't stick the landing at the end. Like, it's a very weak ending. And I think it has to lose points for that. The ending, can anyone honestly sit here and tell me, knowing what you know about the first 2 acts of the movie, can you honestly tell me that the levity of the ending sequence matches the levity of how it was established in the first place? Honestly, like really dig deep. Even if you don't hate the ending, can we agree that the levity of the first 2 acts is much higher than the third act? And that's all I'm saying. Again, this is still an amazing Godzilla movie. Can you imagine if they matched that levity at the end? And I guess that's another thing, right? Because I'm like, damn, they were so close. I mean, this was close to being the kind of movie that would stick around. Oh, it's still going to stick around for ages. Let's be real. But I mean, man, again, it's not a horrible ending. I'm not saying the ending sucks, but fuck, those first 2 acts were so good. They were so, like, it was like up here, man. I was shocked, dude. Let me tell you, I was watching this movie and I'm like, the whole time I'm shoving popcorn in my mouth, I'm drinking my diet drink, and I'm just like, I'm into it. Like, character-wise was beautiful, and everything around it, and the deeper meanings, and the tragedy of it all. And then, you know, again, it doesn't mean that I don't like the movie. Obviously, you guys can see I'm gushing about it. And you guys know me. How often do I gush about any movie? Let's be real. How often do you ever see me gush about any movie? Doesn't matter if it's Godzilla or not. Almost never. Almost never. So the leak you read during stream matches the movie's climate? Was that the one recent one? Yeah, I think it was the same. I think. I don't remember. $50 million budget. By God, this film is amazing. I would buy the Blu-ray for this film. Oh yeah, as soon as it's available, I'm getting it. No doubt. And I'm probably gonna go watch it again because I think my son wants. I don't know if he's gonna like it though. My son, you know, he's young, so he likes the action and all that. So I told him, I said, "You sure you want to see it? Because Godzilla's only in the movie for like 3 minutes. You know what I mean?" A better ending would have put it above 54 for me, but I didn't expect it to beat 54. So even getting that close for me is magnificent. It definitely would have been in talks for 54 if that ending was better. If they had kept up with that trend, yes, I believe we would have had a conversation about whether or not this beats 54. Which, for me to say that is a lot, because in my eyes, nothing beats 54. Now, it turns out that nothing's still beating 54. But yes, I do agree. It would have been in the conversation for best Godzilla movie of all time had they stuck the landing. I really want to see it again, and it's in cinemas for a decent amount of time down here, yeah. Now, when I mentioned in my video earlier, when I spoke in my video earlier about those 3 seconds, and now I told you what those 3 seconds were, did any of you know what I was talking about? Be honest though. Don't just say yes because I revealed it. I should have asked before I said anything. Rob, did your theater have the movie on the side walls as well as the screen? What do you mean this? Oh, you talking about like IMAX? No, I saw it. Even if they don't have IMAX, but even if they did, I wouldn't have seen it in IMAX. I would have seen it in standard. Sometimes IMAX or those big screens are too much. Like if you gotta go, like, I don't like that. And it's bad enough that I had to read the subtitles on top of that. So no, it came well before the mark on her neck. The black rain was the giveaway. I noticed the black rain, but I thought you meant the thing on her neck at the end. No, that in part, that was like, I think the director, which this is clever. I think the director knew not everybody would pick up on the black rain. And that's why he did the part at the end with the thing on her neck. That was like his second subtle indication of of the long-term effects. But the black rain was the first one. I had noticed the black rain immediately. The thing on her neck, I noticed that too, but at that point, I already had known what that meant. To be honest, no. Yeah. I did, and I told you the hospital scene, which was what I meant about the mark on her neck. Yeah, but again, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the black rain. The black rain was your first clue. The mark on her neck was not as subtle because I think the director knew not everybody would pick up on the black rain. See, the black rain... So in World War II, after the bomb was dropped, after the nuke happened, it started raining black. It was basically like radiation rain, like acid rain. And that was what that scene was. The indication that anyone within the range of what happened there, or even in the ocean when he was blowing his atomic breath, all those people are going to be dead in like 5 to 10 years. Yeah, I figured he put the thing on her neck because most people don't know what the black rain symbolizes. Yep. That's very true. A lot, and I knew that too. That's why I was like, it's very subtle. And actually it wasn't subtle. It's just that a lot of people wouldn't know what that means. You know what I mean? The black rain, so there were ashes of people, but you see, when it really happened, it is rain. What happened to people who were like right there underneath, like when the bomb went off, those people were incinerated and they were actually plastered permanently on any remaining buildings. So like, for example, back in 1945, if you were like, say, in a radiation suit and walking through the ground zero of where that went off, you would literally see like the indentations of people in concrete. So, but the what came down was actually rain. If you want to, again, I've mentioned this before. There is a documentary on Max called White Light, Black Rain. It's the whole story of everything that happened from the time the bombs were dropped all the way to current day. So they actually interview people. Now this was in 2006, so I don't know if these people are still alive, but they actually interview people who were there, who survived. And you'll see in the interview, these people have skin grafts. They're kind of deformed. You know what? Maybe we should all watch it together, like tomorrow. Maybe we'll do a watch long. I'll play it on Discord, and we'll watch it. It's tough to watch, but that'll give you an indication of, you know, if you've never seen it. Yeah, and some of those shadows do still exist. Yeah, there's a monument, not a monument, what do they call that? Kind of like what they have for 9/11. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh God, somebody help me find a word. When you go to a spot where something happened and you can put flowers down and kind of reflect on the events, there's a word for it. Is it monument? I don't think it's monument. A memorial. Thank you, Childish. Memorial. There's a memorial in Japan that has a building that's still partially erected from when the bomb dropped. And yeah, you can see the ashes of people plastered after they were incinerated. Their remains or like the shadow of them still plastered on the concrete. It's so surreal. You know what I mean? They do show it in the documentary.
the symbolism had to be in the film because the root of Godzilla's legacy was to bring awareness to the effects of nuclear fallout, and is the basis for Godzilla to begin with. Yeah, and I just thought it was great. A lot of what they did in this movie was just great. Again, I'm not saying the ending was bad. You know, if a movie has a horrendous ending, I'm not going to watch it again. But this movie I could watch over and over. It just sucks that, you know, it trends downward. But again, that doesn't mean the movie's far from, you know, like I saw this one review, this guy was just totally trashing the movie, and I'm like, how could you, even if it's a hobby, how could you say this is a review? He's just trashing the movie. You're not, like, this is how I know. It's so unfortunate. Like, I really want to encourage people, look back at the history of World War II, get a good understanding of what that meant in history. Primarily the Pacific War between Japan and America. So it really, you might even see the movie differently once you learn more about the history and the meanings. A lot of that was implemented into this movie. Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of, you know, maybe not you guys, I don't know, you know, but there are a large group of young people who have little knowledge of World War II. I blame that on schools. I got into World War II when I learned about it in school. And from that moment forward, I've always watched whatever documentary I could about World War II, movies, anything related to World War II I would watch. It was such an important moment in history for mankind, especially for the United States. It's also a good lesson for people who are isolationist, like people who don't want to get involved, don't want the United States getting involved in world events or foreign affairs. It is a good lesson that shows people that you can't be the world leader and ignore the world. You just can't do that. That's not to say that every decision that the United States has made to get involved in foreign affairs is a good one, right? Vietnam was terrible. But the point is, if you go deep and learn about World War II, you will understand why isolationism for the United States is not possible. It's just not going to work out. New Empire's first. Yeah, I saw all the posters. I saw that review. It seemed like he didn't even watch the film. It's a very idiotic review. I mean, I know, but I bet my friend at college won't understand. I probably will end up explaining. I bet the reviewer never saw the movie, and I think he would need to see it at least 2 times to get the point, have the point off. I did, and I saw this movie. When my school teaches students about world wars, it's usually about us good, German bad, and that's it. Yeah, they don't go into details. I mean, the United States was on the right side of history. You know, they were fighting for freedom. United States wanted to stay out the war. And, I mean, you guys know what caused it. Basically, they were sanctioning the shit out of Japan. Japan got most of their fuel and oil imported. All right, they didn't really have their own resources for fuel, and the United States was a big importer to Japan for fuel and oil and stuff. So when they sanctioned them and they stopped trading with them, it kind of forced Japan's hand. Their goal was to basically cripple the United States naval fleet in Pearl Harbor so they could take over Southeast Asia and China. And they almost succeeded. They're very close. Not only that, had they wanted to continue bombing and pursuing the United States, they could have taken over a good portion of the West Coast before the United States would have had a decent response. They could have not taken over, but they could have put a good hurting on Pearl Harbor and probably a good hurting on the West Coast before the United States could thoroughly respond. But they decided to go and stick with Southeast Asia, the whole Pacific. They wanted all that. They wanted Midway. That was a crucial battle that the United States won. Had they taken Midway, the United States would have been fucked hard. If Midway was lost to Japan,
United States would, and United States lost a lot during Midway because the Zero planes were much better. At that time, Japan was more technologically advanced in terms of military than the United States were. The torpedo bombers, that was a Japanese design that the Americans copied, and in the very beginning, America's torpedo bombers were horrendous. You know, yeah, it's just amazing. Just go, man. Yeah, not all Germans were Nazis. No, not all of them. That's absolutely true. Not all Japanese were entirely on par with whatever code of war of the warrior that we're on about. I'm sure there were some outliers in Japan that weren't supportive of the war, but to be quite frank, a lot of them were ready to die. A lot of them were ready to. They were not going to let any country occupy Japan. The public was very ready to fight. That's why the Americans didn't want to invade. That's why they didn't want to invade. If they had invaded, not only would a lot of American men been killed, but there would have been a lot of death. It would have been worse than the bombs for sure. The bombs, what made the bombs really bad was the targets that America selected and the after effects. The after effects is really what's bad. But even then, more people would have died in an all-out war on Japan's front than if America didn't drop the nukes. Because remember, Russia was ready to invade Japan and just rip that shit apart. You would have had like a 3-way war on a very small country island. And man, there would have been so many dead people on all sides. I mean, you're looking at, there were already losses in the millions leading up to the bombs. There would have been more. I mean, let's see. A conservative accounting shows that 25 million people died in the Asia-Pacific War. About 6 million were combatants mostly. Chinese, Japanese, that leaves 19 million non-combatant deaths. 25 million died during that war in the Pacific. In total from America, Japan, Chinese, and other countries, 25 million, dude. In a span of what, 6 years? How long was that war? 6 years? From 42 to like 46? 25 million. That's an absurd number. Absurd number. 6 million combatants on both sides from Japan and America, with a smaller number being from other countries. I mean, 25. I mean, that is a. Can you imagine how many more would die if there was an all-out war in Japan? Holy shit, 25 million. I always forget that number because it's hard to believe. 25 million people. God. And that's a war that wasn't primarily on land. I mean, they had the ground wars where American troops were jumping from island to island to fight back. That's where you get like movies like Iwo Jima and all that stuff, right? Hacksaw Ridge, right? Tell stories. The perfect one is the Band of Brothers sequel, The Pacific. That is, if you want to know, get an idea of what it was like from the ground, not the air, watch that 10-episode show of how America went from island to island fighting Japanese troops to take back over certain land, certain islands leading up into Japan. Brutal. Just fucking brutal. Yeah, man, World War II is no joke. This is insane. Yeah, Japanese were very brutal. They did after America bombed Japan for the first time after Pearl Harbor was bombed. If you guys have seen movies like Pearl Harbor or Midway, you'll probably know that that was called the Doolittle Run. That's where they put bombers on an aircraft carrier and they stripped the bombers to the point where they had no guns. Anyway, it is true that after that Doolittle Run, a lot of the American planes had to ditch in the China Sea and made it to China. The Japanese killed, I think it was just only because China aided, I think it was two or it might have been four Americans that crashed there. All they did was aid four Americans, and China and Japan killed like 300,000 Chinese people for punishment. 300,000. Imagine being punished by 300,000 innocent people being killed because they aided four men. Both my grandpa during World War II were like, fuck the Japanese, we fuck American. We're fucking American. Oh, they hated the Chinese so much. Goes back thousands of years. Oh yeah, yep, very true. And it's still that way. It's still that way now. But now, obviously, China has the upper hand. History is amazing, and it's something that we shouldn't forget. You know, there were so many people, so many soldiers that if they had not made the sacrifices they did in that war, man, we'd be talking Japanese now. Or things would certainly be different. That's why when people shit on America for what they did, it's not that simple. It's not black and white, you know. Japan they committed a lot of war crimes. And that's not to say that there is an excuse for civilians dying, but I believe the blame needs to be shared. It's certainly fair to criticize America for even using the bombs, but we have to also criticize the Japanese government for lying to their people and making them feel that they had a chance to win, for not surrendering when they were clearly done, when they were clearly beat, and forcing the hand of America. Imagine having to make the decision that killing thousands of people with these two bombs would say, like, that's a very morbid decision to have to make. I can save more people by killing less. I wouldn't want to be the one to make that decision. I know what the decision has to be. Majority rules, right? But can you imagine the feeling of having to decide to kill a certain amount of people to avoid more, or to avoid 6 or 7 times that kind of tragedy? That's not easy. That's why we can't just completely look back at history and say, oh, America's fucked up. Nah. Yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. It's still stupid for people to think we're entirely at fault for the nukes when the Japanese were willing to die to fight to Japan. It'd be almost as bad as the long walk to Germany. Yeah, I mean, war is just bad altogether. And those are the kind of decisions that people in those positions have to make during times of war. This is why a lot of countries don't want war. That's why war is changing now. You know, war is more cerebral. It's more darknet, you know, sending viruses and stuff to other countries to try and fuck up their infrastructure. No country wants to go to war. Even the most evil dictators in the world want to try and avoid war, you know? So it's not a pretty thing. Rob, do you believe the story of how American planes dropped leaflets on Hiroshima and Nagasaki the day before the bomb, which told the people there to evacuate? I don't know. I don't think the U.S. would have done that. I got to be honest. In such a, in such a high stakes war, you don't want to give your enemy any clue. because even though the United States could have chose better targets, there were military targets in those two cities. It's just it wasn't as abundant as other cities like Tokyo, right? So no, I don't believe they dropped leaflets. I don't think they would have given themselves away like that. Now, to be fair, Truman did warn the prime minister, or rather the emperor, that, hey, honey, you okay? Yeah. He did warn him that, look, we're going to drop some shit, prime minister, or rather, the emperor didn't believe him. But sometimes you need to take a warning. Seriously. If your back's against the wall, if you're in a losing fight, and they're warning you, surrender now, or we're really going to give it to you, might be smart to surrender. And again, his stubbornness caused thousands of lives. Monkeke, I was going to say, I agree. Yeah, you're right. And that's one of the things I liked about the movie is that they were holding Japanese accountable also, which is what people need to understand. I did like that. Yeah, I don't know about. Yeah, I don't believe that. In that kind of war with those kind of stakes, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. What do I think the sequel would be about? See, that's why I didn't want them to do that. This movie doesn't need a sequel. That's not to say that Toho can't take the -1 Godzilla version, right? And put him in a different movie and kind of have fun with it, like a verse movie or something. But this movie is perfectly standalone. You don't need a sequel for this. It's good where it is. If they did do it nuts, I don't think the people would have left anyway. I do believe the people would have said, "Hey, big girl, come here." By the way, our little puppy, Mason, he's arriving at the new house on the 23rd. I had to make sure my kids were in here because it's supposed to be a surprise for them. A lot of big things happening in the house all at once. What's really surprising is that Japan didn't surrender immediately after the first bomb was dropped. It's very true. To be fair, though, I don't think they understood the magnitude of the power of the bomb. A lot of people didn't. And I think when they saw the end results, by then it was too late. They had already dropped the second one. I mean, they dropped them both on the same day, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot about World War II to remember. So I don't remember everything, but I'm pretty sure they dropped them both on the same day. Nope. It was a few days later. Hey, big girl. She wants loves. But yeah, man, Godzilla -1 was great overall. I mean, it feels good to spend a lot of money to go see a movie, and a movie is good. You guys know I don't go to the movies nearly as much as I used to because I feel like it's such a robbery, highway robbery, to pay. I mean, I had a soda, a candy, and you know how like theaters are doing those little combos now? It was a medium popcorn, a medium soda, and a candy, and it was like $20. Like fucking insane. Insane. A medium soda at the fucking theater was almost $7. A bag of popcorn at the theater, a medium. Oh my God, the prices are so bad. Did you eat? She looks like she's about to fall asleep. Yeah, the prices are ridiculous. You're around the Godzilla X Kong trailer is Sunday. How do we know this? Yeah, I see a lot of people talk. I'm not gonna even get somewhat excited. I do think they're gonna show footage. I just don't think we're gonna see it. We'll probably see it in a leak, but I still don't think we're getting an official trailer until. I'm still gonna stick with my wide prediction of late January. I think the ramp up does mean they're going to show something. I don't know if it's a trailer, though. It might be a clip they're going to show at CCXP. And every time they show something at CCXP, we get a little leak, but we don't get a full-fledged official trailer. Now, if we do get an official full-fledged trailer, fantastic. We'll talk about it. I might do a live stream on my phone because I think after tomorrow I'm going to be packing up my camera and my streaming stuff because we're moving in 2 weeks and it's time to get the ball rolling. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, GTA 6. Fine. I'm very interested to see how they're going to do this game. The way things are now, I'm wondering if they're going to soften up the game a little bit. I hope not. Rob, one major thing -1 proved is that great storytelling and great acting will always overpower CGI. And while the CGI was spotty, it's great when it... I thought the CGI was quite good, to be honest. You could tell they've worked on that shit a lot. Grace Godira drops Sunday. Okay, but we have to be getting something. I think my biggest disappointment with like everything outside of -1 is how people are just suddenly shitting all over the MonsterVerse. It's like you wouldn't even have this fucking thing if it weren't for the MonsterVerse. I mean, people don't even see all the MonsterVerse inspirations in this movie, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. Obviously not from a story standpoint, but in terms of presentation and CGI, very MonsterVerse inspired. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. You know, if they're inspired by some of the things the MonsterVerse did, go for it. You know, I find it funny that when the MonsterVerse movies come out and when the trailers come out, everybody's on board, right? Everyone is on board. Everybody loved Godzilla vs. Kong, blah, 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 blah. And then people quickly forget how much enjoyment they got out of something because it always goes back to Toho. And nobody seems to remember that the majority of the bad Godzilla movies are from Toho. So it's like, you know, the MonsterVerse has done a lot for Godzilla, a lot more than people are willing to give it credit for. I was watching my dog. She's been kind of acting up lately. I think this movie will boost the general public's hype for Godzilla x Kong. Maybe not critics or fans. No, Godzilla x Kong is not going to be critically acclaimed. It's not going to have a story like -1. But you know what? It's going to be fun. It's going to be. I think it'll be a fun ride. I think there'll be great effects. There'll be great monster action. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. If you were to tell me that Legendary is going to continue doing the Showa-esque action monster films and Toho is going to start doing deeper, more grounded, more story-focused kaiju films, you think I'm going to complain? After what they did with -1, you think I'm going to complain? I would love to see Toho pull off a similar story with a Godzilla versus movie. Can you imagine this Godzilla, this version of Godzilla, ready to shit all over Japan again, and there's another monster that arrives, and it indirectly defends Japan, like it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend type approach, where the only reason Godzilla doesn't wreck the city after beating this monster is because he's tired and worn down, and he goes back and I mean. Rather see Legendary start to make better films. Yeah, I mean, Legendary Godzilla films have the Legendary MonsterVerse movies have all been good, but they're good for different reasons. They're good for having fun. There's nothing wrong with going to a movie to have fun. I don't see why that's the bad thing. All right, so you don't get a story that's gonna rattle your brain and tug on your heartstrings, but that's not always necessary. You know what I mean? Like, if I had known how emotionally strong -1 would have been, I probably would have waited to see it, to be honest. Because right now, with all the shit going on, I'm emotionally worn out. And that's not a bad thing, you know? It's a big deal for me and my wife and my kids to move into a house. It's been the road to get here has been exhausting with the paperwork, the visits, the orientation was fantastic, but it was 2 hours long. The constant financial, like, I mean, these people check everything about your finances. They want bank statements. They want 90 days worth of bank statements. They want to see your paychecks. They want to know your job history. I mean, you want to talk about a deep dive? I've had credit checks that were not this intrusive. The amount of stuff you need to give to get a house, and let's not even talk about the money. You drop that first, what did we put down? We put down like $15,000, almost, actually closer to 20. But even after that, you get financially chipped away at all the way to the closing. My closing, you want to know how much it was on top of the 20 grand we already dropped? $8,000, a little over $8,000 is my closing. So at the end of the day, it's like almost $30,000. That's a lot of money to drop, and that's stressful because now, I gotta kind of start again. I built I mean, that's the purpose of the money. I know that, so it's not like it's a bad investment. I got my house because of it. But man, let me tell you something. When you work hard and you build up a nice nest egg, you got like 40 grand sitting around, and you know what you're gonna use it for. I know that money was to get a house. But to see it all gone so fast, it does hurt. It does drain you. Because now, number one, you got to start again. Number two, there's everything that goes into the house after you move in. I need to buy a lawnmower. I need to buy actually more furniture. I need to fill the house. The house is going to be completely empty compared to the furniture we have. I got to maintain the property. I got to maintain the water heater. There's a lot. There's a lot of things now I got to think about. An apartment, no problem. You got maintenance men that deal with everything. Now, it's all on me. And when you think about, now, am I going to have to worry about that stuff out the gate? No, of course not. But I like to prepare. I like to be ready for things. So when I don't have a large amount of money stashed away for an emergency rainy day, I get stressed out because I have kids. I have my wife. I have a family to think about. So that's not to say all my money's gone because I have money in my investments, but that's for retirement. You know what I mean? I don't want to touch that. But the money we had, again, I know it was supposed to go to the house. That's what it was for. That's what we were saving for. But man, when it's gone, it's stressful, man. It's, that's a lot of money. But I know it was a good investment. I know it was. I want Godzilla x Kong to have some same tone of Godzilla versus Kong. It probably will. I don't think you have to worry about that. Plus, you have to pay PMI until you pay off 20%. That's another thing the nice people at the bank will tack on. Yeah. Kind of wish to give the turn off your head switch a break. The ending of -1 reminds me of a Raymond Burr line from 1985. No matter what happens, Godzilla will live. Yeah. Which kind of further for me, solidifies that they didn't need to show that scene. Because again, I do think this is a perfectly good standalone Godzilla movie. It does not need a sequel. Godzilla X Kong will be Godzilla vs. Kong on crack, yeah. Rob, did you like the beginning with Godzillasaurus? Yeah, that was great. That was great. I love that. That was a great sequence. Probably one of the best Godzilla sequences I've seen in maybe ever. I mean, he was actually chomping on people. I mean, he wasn't eating them, but still. How often, when was the last time you saw Godzilla pick up a human by his mouth and chuck him 50 yards? I agree, Rob. The sequel has too much to live up to. Yeah, it doesn't need a sequel. But that doesn't mean Toho can't do another Godzilla movie with the same Godzilla design and make something different. Yeah, I agree, Brian. We need more brutal Godzilla. Yeah, Godzilla's behavior in this movie was what I've been dreaming of for the longest time. And can I get some dabs, please? I don't often do this, but I really want to pat myself on the back for having the right call on his atomic breath. Everybody thought it was a nuke. You know what I mean? A lot of people didn't think it was his atomic breath, but I did. That was me. So listen to you, Rob, for years, and you get what you wanted in that first scene. Yeah. Oh, and the way he was. You know what was really a good scene? Great cinematography. So remember when he first arrived to wreck the city, and there's the journalist on top of the building taking pictures. That whole sequence, and then when he got closer to them, and that side shot. Oh man, it would have been great if they had him like turn his attention to them, and then like chomp down, and that would have been great. But that's all right. It still was a good scene. LOL, yeah. Dab. You call it. Thank you. I have to pat myself on the back sometimes, because if I don't, then nobody remembers that I made that video. Right? Remember when you said this after your Godzilla vs. Kong review, you hope one day we'd get the serious Godzilla again after Legendary walked away. Yeah, man, and it was. That's why I loved it. And it wasn't just Godzilla in and of himself, but the story was fucking great, man. I love that shit. I know I sound pathetic for asking for credit, but everybody else does it. So I said, nah, I got to do it this time. I called that shit. I need to take a little bit of credit. The atomic blast was goofy. I can understand that criticism. I said earlier, I think the reason they made it look that way, like his buildup and all that, is because it is very cool that Legendary came up with that. And I think the reason they did his spikes coming up is cool, because it's kind of like they all come up and then they retract at the same time. It's like pushing a button, and then he spits out his atomic breath. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. But I could understand why you would think it's goofy. I'm not gonna fight that criticism, but I do like it. They had to kind of differentiate it a little bit, because everything about that was Monster vs. Godzilla, except the expanding and retracting spikes, and that's why they added that, to make it a little different. Would you all agree that this movie is top 5 best? Yeah, definitely top 5. Right now for me, it's fighting for the top 3 with 2014, because my ranking has always been 54, 84, 2014. Now it's 54, 84, and either 2014 or 2023 Toho. So I gotta watch the 2014 movie again and see. Because the advantage that 2014 is no matter how much you want to criticize it, that third act was fucking excellent. what's my top 5? It's going to be 54, 84, either 2014 and 2023 -1 at 3 and 4, and then number 5 would be Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Rob, there was one Easter egg for 54 with Auto Island and 64 with the Mothra theme and 62 with the King Kong. Yeah, I was in the music during his attack in the city. Yeah, I did pick that up. Like it went from the Godzilla theme into the Mothra theme and then into the Kong theme. Yeah, that was cool the way they did that. I like that. Will you and D-Man debate Matt now? He didn't like it while D-Man loved it like you. I do want. I think I might be able to get Matt tomorrow, and we'll discuss it. He wished me a happy birthday, and he wants to chat soon. So I'm gonna tell him, listen, if you're free tomorrow, come through. Because I'm gonna do a long stream tomorrow. I got a couple of things to do in the morning, but because it's my birthday stream, I want to kind of have a longer stream, have some fun. I'm not gonna see you guys for a couple of weeks, so I'm hoping to start early and go for a good 5 or 6 hours. Have some drinks. I got my dinner, got my cake. So I want to have my cake with you guys. We can talk more about the movie, talk about whatever else, and just have some fun, Am I turning 25? I wish. I'm going to be 40. I'm 46 now. My birthday was yesterday, but because we had the house stuff yesterday and today was more like, the kids still had school and stuff like that. We had some stuff to do. So tomorrow I'm going to celebrate it tomorrow. So that should be a lot of fun. Let's go through. So there's some pictures in my house. If you guys want to check them out, here's some pictures. So that's the front, obviously. Here's me in my driveway. There's my kitchen. Well, kitchen, open concept. Off to the right is the living area. Off to the left is the dining area. So that's the dining area. Obviously, there's more space I'm standing in, but that's where the dinner table is going to go. This door right here is the pantry. That is my room where I'm going to set up my computer, my streaming, and all that. So there's a long wall here. All right, that extends more. And then there's this wall here. This is where I'm going to put my desk. I'm going to put all my shit behind me. Get some blinds there. And yep, so that's the stream room. That's the E.T.N room. Here's another shot of the kitchen. So there's my island. Obviously all stainless steel appliances. A range stove with fire. No fucking coils. I love the fact that I got a fire stove or a gas stove. Here's my backyard, which is from the tip down here all the way to where this wooden post is. So this wooden post here and this wooden post here are the width, and then the length ends all the way back here. So I got a pretty big yard. As you can see, they put down the sod. This is going to take time to root. We're in the winter now, so this is not going to start to grow in until the spring, but it's still taking root. So the guy told me I have to water this twice a week for 20 minutes. So here's more of the yard. There's the stairs going up. This is my garage. It is bigger than it looks in the picture because there's more going down. There's more length to it. This is, I believe, this is my bedroom, my master bedroom. That's the walk-in closet over there. It's actually bigger than it looks in the picture. There's a lot more space on the bottom here that's cut off. Here's the bathroom with the 2 sinks. There's a shower. This is the walk-in closet. Here's the washer-dryer room to do laundry. Here's the main bathroom on the 2nd floor. This is, I believe, the 4th bedroom. This is the room my wife's going to use for work. And we're also going to set it up as a guest room. We're going to put a day bed in here. This is the bathtub in the main bathroom. This is, I believe, my daughter's walk-in closet. And I believe this is my Is this my daughter's room? This might be my son's room. There's a toilet. There's a sink in the main bathroom. This is the downstairs living area. So all this green tape were just little fine touches they got to finish. But this is the main living area. And then another close picture of my beloved range stove. There's my beloved range stove close up because I love it. There's a sink that my wife loves. Big old sink. There's that. There's that. And yeah. Oh, and then check this shit out. They also planted. This is a Japanese cherry blossom tree. And I cannot wait until this blooms. I didn't even ask for this. They just planted it. And the guy told me, yeah, this is a cherry blossom tree. I'm like, oh shit, really? He was like, yeah, you got to water this a lot during the summer because it's susceptible to heat. But man, I cannot wait till this shit blooms. It's right in the middle of my front yard. I cannot wait. So I thought that was fitting, that Japanese cherry blossom tree. It's a very fitting piece. So I was happy about that. Rob, looking good. Long time no see. Did you lose some weight? Yeah, I haven't lost any more, unfortunately. But from the time I moved down here, I lost about 60 pounds. So I've hit a wall since then. But that's also because, I need to start getting back to exercising. But I've tried to maintain what I am now, so that way when I go back to trying to lose weight, I'm not starting from a bad spot. Oh, thank you for the happy birthday, Owen. I appreciate that. You have 2 cherry blossom trees in your front yard? Yeah. I can't wait till it blooms. My birthday was yesterday, James. Yeah, I'm glad it's a big yard. Raven and Mason are going to love that. Yeah, it is going to be a lot of grass cutting, but that's going to be good for me. In regards to the cliffhanger with Noriko, I have a theory. I think whatever she is infected with is actually what helped her survive her encounter with Big G. She's mutating. It's possible, but I think that was more deliberate to give the audience a more clearer picture of radiation poisoning. I really don't think this movie's going to get a sequel. I don't think that's going to be a cliffhanger that's going to be answered, so to speak. Godzilla -2. Nah, they need to leave it like it is. Thanks, thank you, Nerd Jokester. Congrats, Kratos. My goal is to lose weight and dress up as Kratos next year with my son as Atreus. You've been doing the One Punch Man workout? What is that? Dude, I did notice in some of your pictures that you put on a little weight. But it makes sense because every time you post pictures of what you're eating, I'm like, this motherfucker gonna get fat like me. How much do I weigh now? I'm not telling you. Fuck out of here. What are your thoughts about the position the Godzilla franchise is in right now with -1 Monarch? I think Godzilla's in a good spot. I don't think you have to worry too much. I think we'll get more stuff for the foreseeable future. Definitely would like to see more stuff from Toho now that they've got a grip on CGI.
I don't think the ending to -1 means sequel. I think it's just a movie telling us that he's still alive. Yeah, I think it's a movie telling us that he's still alive, which they don't have to. We know this by now. And I think the black spot on her neck, I think that's just to let people know that about the radiation poisoning. That's why I'm saying, like, there are two parts of the movie where the director is trying to tell us about the side effects of what Godzilla's done. I noticed it with the black rain shower because that's what happened shortly after the nukes were thrown down in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is why that whole sequence, that short 3 seconds, was a lot. It changed a lot for me watching the movie. But I think because it was so subtle and a lot of people wouldn't know what that meant, I think that's why he put the black spot on her neck. Rob, can we do a -1 member stream at some point? Yeah, well, we can do it when the movie comes out on digital. They can start a new Godzilla saga without making a sequel to this movie. This movie does not need a sequel. In fact, I think a sequel would ruin this movie. He might want to do a Star Wars movie, but he's not going to do it in his vision. Disney won't let him do that. I couldn't get over how good he looked in some scenes. CGI was incredible, unreal. How bad some CGI in Hollywood is. It's because Hollywood relies too heavily on it. It's not special when you see it so much. Oh, man. Oh. Ooh, excuse me. During the trailer, Coach, he said, "This monster will never not forgive us," and he did not say that in this movie. He did, but he didn't say it to Godzilla. He said it to when it was a scene where I think the crew he works with were in the house. He was on his knees and he looked at I don't know what they call those things, but he looked at like a little mini memorial he had on his desk of the men who died, and that's when he said, "You'll never forgive me," and that was that was linked to what had happened in the beginning of the movie when obviously he didn't shoot the gun and the men died. So he was kind of looking at it as this is happening because they won't forgive me. Just more like self-loathing at that point. A lot of self-loathing from him, but it was justified because of the trauma. It was almost like a PTSD. When he said it in the trailers, it was not when he said it in the... Yes, that's true. When he said it in the trailer is when he was laying down like that. Yeah, yeah. So when he said it in the trailers was not the same scene of when he said it in the movie. Why did they salute when Godzilla died? Mission accomplished? Yeah, me too, Shin. I don't want Kurt Russell to die in the show. I think he will die at some point.
Yeah, I think they were also saluting Koichi when he was coming down on the parachute. No, he was regenerating. I don't think he was evolving. I will say though, man, he looked twisted when they put him out of the water. You see that? Oh my god, it was so grotesque. Made Shin look like a fucking gorgeous baby girl. The eyes were bulging out. Yeah, yeah, he looked wicked. Yeah, it was. That scene. That I gotta say was a little kind of scary for. I was like, oh shit, he looks wicked, man. He looks crazy. Do you think -1 is what G14 should have been? No, G14 was exactly what it needed to be. A successful movie that opened up the franchise. G14 is a very pivotal movie in the history of Godzilla, and it's unfortunate that people continue to kind of not appreciate it, at least for that. Even if you don't like the movie, you can appreciate the fact that without that movie, we don't know if we would have gotten everything here that we've been getting. G14 overall was a success at the box office, and it was successful enough to garner the Monsterverse. The Monsterverse wasn't put into place, it wasn't conceptualized when G14 was filmed. G14 was meant to be a one-off movie. But because it was much more successful than people thought it would be, they decided to go forward with it. And look, they overall have had a successful universe of kaiju films that have opened up to new fans. It's thriving. One would argue that it's growing in popularity, which it is. And the kaiju genre is in a good place right now. It'll never hit Marvel peak or get close to even Marvel. Hell, it won't even hit DC peak. But it's got its place. It'll ride it out as long as it can, and it's gonna have its day in the sun where it stops, where it ends. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. Oh, really? Wow. I was just reading your comment, Monkeke, about fishing. That's crazy. I agree with that, Miss L. They're fine just the way they are, is right. G14 would have been a lot better if the acting was better, in my opinion. But yes, it put Godzilla back on the map. Yeah, that's the problem with G14. G14, the monster stuff for me is fine. You actually get more Godzilla in G14 than you do in -1. But when you have good storytelling like -1, it doesn't hurt as much not seeing him. If G14 had continued the movie with Bryan Cranston as the primary star and Aaron Taylor Johnson as like a supporting actor, I think it would have been, story-wise, it would have been a whole, because they could have kept the story they had, just replace Bryan Cranston with Aaron Taylor Johnson, minus the bomb stuff, right? You just maybe change that up a little bit. But beyond that, Aaron Taylor Johnson admitted, like, what, early last year or late last year, that for all intents and purposes, he didn't really give a shit. And that's so evident in the film. You could tell he doesn't give a shit. When people thought that Cranston was going to return at the end of the movie. Yeah, I know, right? Even though they put him in a fucking body bag. Oh, yeah, he's just going to unzip it and come out of nowhere. Sure. Bryan Cranston flying a plane into Godzilla's mouth. Keep Bryan Cranston's character alive, and the movie would have been better, in my opinion. Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. How did you guys feel when they name dropped Serizawa in the Monarch show? That was pretty cool, right? Maybe a little tease of his return at some point for a cameo. They should use his body parts to make a 300-foot Frankenstein. Take a lot to stretch out those body parts, though. Yeah, that was neat to hear his name in the show. Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody here has watched episode 4 already. It came out last night. Yeah, you're right, Jim. He wasn't in Godzilla vs. Kong much, but it didn't hurt because when he did arrive, it was always impactful. And you still had Kong to keep you company when he wasn't on screen because Kong got most of the screen time. I think Godzilla will have one major fight towards the end of the season, probably the season finale. Yep, I agree with that, Mr. L. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Episode 4 is the weakest one so far. At least Longneck got his moment. He says episode 6 would be a fan favorite. All right. Well, we got 2 weeks before that comes out. Hope we get a really cool monster from him to fight. Doesn't need to be Toho either for me. Am I the only one excited for the new villain in Godzilla X Kong? I know a lot of people are disappointed. May just be another ape, but honestly, it makes sense with the story they've been building up with Kong. I don't, I think a lot of people are going to say that until the movie comes out. And once they see this new monster wrecking shit, they'll probably change their mind. It always happens that way. So will Legendary now be making the cheesy stuff and Toho make all the serious stuff? I don't know. But would that be a bad thing? It certainly wouldn't be bad. I'm sure Toho will get their cheesy points in at some point. It's much easier to do your run of the mill kaiju movie than it is to. It's a lot of work to do a kaiju movie with a good story. Most times, I think to pull that off, you need it to be a solo movie, and solo movies are great. Obviously, we just saw -1, but fun. Monster verse movies are fun. The new Godzilla X Kong posters are pretty fucking sick. Yeah, they are. Let's see if we can pull them up. I know somebody posted them. It's probably further down. Oh, did you? I want to show you guys something. Somebody, James Bevelo from The Nation, made a happy birthday video for me. It has me and D-Man in it. It's about a minute. Let me show you guys. It's really funny. It's fucking hilarious. It is really funny. Let's share this real quick. Let's watch this. This was a little video he made. Oh, hold on. I don't know why it's on mute.
Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do, 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 so boom. Life could be a dream. I can take you up to paradise up above. And you told me I'm the only one that you love.
That's a lot of fish.
Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
Then this happens.
Dude, this straight up sucks.
Skip it on now. Skip it on
Motherfucking
skip it button.
Oh, it's so good.
Motherfucking trailer. Motherfucking trailer.
It was very sweet. It was very sweet.
Motherfucking trailer. Motherfucking trailer.
That's so good. That was so good. Love the distorted stuff. Yeah. Well, the song that they played in Godzilla vs. Kong in the beginning when Kong scratches his butt, he basically used that song but played it backwards. So it was pretty sweet. It was a really sweet video. Where is that, Rob? It's on The Nation. It's on. You gotta scroll down from all the other like Godzilla -1 posts. But here's the funny thing. This part right here, for those who don't know, I love the skitty bop 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 for every missile that flies. That's the for those of you who watch Review Tech USA, that's his intro. And James always said I look like him. I don't think so. I think I'm much better looking than Rich. But I'll pause it. All right, so right here where it says King of the Monsters, the KOTM, James put that there because we discovered years ago when King of the Monsters came out, we discovered that if you were to tip me, the text to speech guy, he says KOTM, and it sounds like he's saying cock. So obviously he puts it on the tail because, you know, so that's a little inside joke, which is why he put that there. And he knows that anybody who was around during those streams know that when you donate, it says cotton, and it sounds like the guy's saying cock. It was a long-running joke, and that's why he put that there. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, this is good shit from James. That was good. Yeah, it's just real funny. So yeah, if you're on the Nation Facebook page, or if you're on the Discord, I'm sure it's posted on both. I also posted it on X when I said, "Oh, look what this! Somebody made this video for me." So it's really, really funny. Where are those pictures? Because I know people posted the shit out of them. Oh, look at that! Steve was wearing my shirt. Check it out. When he went to go see -1, sweet, great. These two right here, wonderful. This is Steve. I can never say his last name, but Steve and his wife. I think Tiffany's her name, and she's been to the stream a couple of times. In fact, one time I was doing a giveaway, and she won the giveaway. She had her Godzilla, got her little Godzilla figure for me. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful couple. Steve's been, he's a long timer. He doesn't come around the streams very much anymore. He's a busy guy, but he does keep in touch. He wished me a happy birthday, and obviously he still supports the channel. Great, great couple, wonderful family, and he's been with the channel for like 10 years. So yeah, it's thank you, Shay. Thank you for the $2. It won't pop up though on $2, unfortunately. Some time ago, I had to set the minimum for text to speech to be $5 because Acno Goji, if I left it at $1, he would endlessly donate $1 so he can talk because he's banned in chat. So, but yeah, that's a great picture of. Actually, I didn't know he wore the shirt, so let me just make a little comment.
You are one awesome motherfucker.
Oh, here it comes. Let's see who. Oh no, that's the $2. Yeah. Oh no, it is gonna say something. So here it is. Listen, here it is. No, it didn't say it. Yeah, it's set to. Yeah. Somebody will drop it eventually. What is this? Okay. Why isn't this scrolling down? Oh God, I gotta go all the way back now.
You are one awesome motherfucker.
No, that's the. Yeah, I gotta turn that other one off. Oh shit, The Boys trailer is tomorrow, from what I heard, for season 4. I hope that continues to be good. That show's a lot of fun to watch. I love that dark superhero shit. Okay, so here's one. This is a nice one of Godzilla. I don't know why his eyes are red. Oh, so they're doing this whole Avengers shit. Look what it says. Unite 2024.
You are one awesome motherfucker.
Okay, let's see. I think somebody did it. Yep, it was nuts. Of course.
Newts for Kaiju tipped $5. Legendary and WB are selling the Monsterverse with CGI and melted cheese while Toho is delivering great storytelling and acting. It all started with Cotman, now GVK. Hopefully GXK does well with going balls to the wall this time.
Yeah, so if you hear like in the middle of that, it said Cotman, but it sounds like cock. Yeah, this poster is really nice. So that's one of the posters. Let me see if we can find the other one. They have all of it, including the monster itself. You know what? I don't know why I'm looking on here and not Twitter. I could probably find it faster there. But I didn't. I'm glad somebody mentioned it because I didn't. Oh, here it is. So there's Kong, there's Godzilla, and there's the new monster. Kong looks sick in this picture, I gotta admit. Kong looks ready to throw down. Yeah, those are some pretty sick pictures. The Cottonham started the kinky verse, yep. I see a shiny red spiral dorsal plate. Yeah, there's rumors going around that Godzilla, his dorsal plates are going to be red at some point, and he's going to look a lot thinner. I don't know what that means. Godzilla's new design. Are you talking about -1, Jonathan? Because the -1 Godzilla is beautiful. He looks exactly like the Ride Godzilla, which is the figure I have. It's not up anymore right now, but yeah, man. But if you're talking about 2024 Godzilla X Kong, I'm not sure. I haven't seen a full. I haven't seen his full design. Why are Kong Godzilla eyes red and Scar's is blue? Kong's eyes being red is fine. Why Godzilla's eyes are red are beyond me. But let's not look too deep into it. It could just be an artistic choice for the poster. Doesn't mean his eyes are going to be red in the movie. Although they might. Who knows? Who knows? Let's not get crazy. So if you look at Kong and he's a gorilla, what do you guys think this is? Do you guys still think this is an orangutan? You still, yeah, orangutan? That means this monster is gonna have a long reach. It's gonna be sick. King Louis. Boop, 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 beep, boop, 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 boop. Bam, bam. Now I'm the king of the swingers. Whoa, the jungle VIP. I reached the top and had to stop, and that's what bothering me. I want to be a man cub, and stroll right into town. Be just like the other men. I'm tired of monkeying around. Oh, ooby doo, oop, kiwi. I want to be like you. Imagine he rolls in singing that song. Then you really got to say cheesy Godzilla. Scar comes in singing, that's an instant 10 out of 10. People are looking way into toy leaks. Didn't Godzilla have armor in the Godzilla vs. Kong toy leaks? I think those armor ones came out afterwards, after the movie. Actually, those armored toys came out a long time ago, if I recall. Even well before Godzilla vs. Kong. I should do a Kaiju Universe stream? What do you mean? Like what do you mean? Like what? Like I know what Kaiju Universe means. I guess what I'm asking is like what would be the topic within a stream with that title?
You are one awesome motherfucker.
Are you talking about a stream where we all talk and build a Kaiju Universe?
Newts for Kaiju tipped $5, in case I didn't hear it. Cotton, and oh yeah, Newts has the feeling that Kong is going to die this time. Warster can eat a dick. I am calling dibs that Kong dies. Interesting.
Hey, last I checked, Warstu still thinks Space Godzilla is going to be in the movie. I want us all to remember that. And obviously you heard now how it sounds. It sounds like cock. Cock. Rob, would you like a link? Would you like a link to the Twitter page with the handprint? Oh, you talking about the... Yeah, sure. I know there's another poster that shows Scar King by himself. Yeah, if you want to send me the link for that, that's cool. I'll pull that up and get a better look at it. When's Gorgo coming out? I think the figure is out already. I don't know about the comic. I think the comic's supposed to come out first quarter next year. Warstu is never wrong. I know. He tries to convince us of that all the time in every video. Based on the box art, crystals are definitely present, but I highly doubt it's Space Godzilla. Yeah, I have a feeling it's like ice shards of some sort. Pipeworks was teasing a remaster of the original trilogy a couple of weeks ago. Would be smart thing for Toho to approve. Yeah. Rob, what do you think? What does that say? Oh, where do I think? Oh, Ohtani? Dodgers. As much as I hate to admit that. The Mets already said they're not going after him. So, which honestly, I didn't want them to. The Mets have so many needs right now. They can't. They can afford to Ohtani, but man, you got to drop a lot of money. They're better off taking all that money and getting pitching. They need pitching bad. The Mets only need like one extra bat in that lineup. Now that they got the young Alvarez who hit 25 home runs last year, so they have added power. So they need more utility players, but in terms of pitching, that's where they need to put their money. They got a lot of young talent coming up. So while I don't expect the Mets to be in the run for a World Series next year, I expect 2 or 3 years down the road they're gonna be consistently good because they have Luis Angel Acuna, they have Jeremy Garrett, I think his name is. They have like 2 top 20 prospects that they traded for, and both of them are major league ready. So that's why I don't think you're gonna see them going after Ohtani or Soto. You know, they have good young talent that they're going to go with that. And sometimes that's the best way to go. But I think they're going to spend a lot of money in pitching because they need to. I'd buy remastered Godzilla games for... Hi. That was quick. I thought you'd be gone longer. Hi. That's the other thing, too. Ohtani can't pitch this year. So, I think if Ohtani was able to pitch this year, I think the Mets would have went after him hard body. But they do need another bat. They need at least one more bat. Doesn't even have to be a power hitter. They'll get power from Alonso, Lindor, and Alvarez. So they need another consistent hitter. High average, high OPS, doubles, like a 15, 20 home run guy. Hell, even Nemo's hitting home runs. Nemo hit 23 home runs last year. Yeah, let me check. Hold on. All right. Hasn't updated on my end yet. Let me refresh again. Why isn't it showing? I don't know why, but sometimes it takes a few minutes to Monsterverse is trending. There's definitely something stirring up with the Monsterverse. Oh my God, even the Monsterverse Twitter page said it's a good time to be a Godzilla fan. Please don't. I don't know why that line just fucking annoys me to no end. My God, they still have this up? That was years ago. Monsters versus Justice League. Yeah, I wonder how many... Did they release all the comics for that? Yeah, I don't know why. I still didn't get your link or the update yet. Did you at me? Still can't believe we're on this run as G fans after that 10-year gap. I remember going through the internet for hours looking for anything when I was in high school. Thanks for everything, Rob. Oh my God, thank you, man. Can you believe 10 years? Anniversary is like...
You are one awesome motherfucker.
The 10-year anniversary of this channel is like on the 13th of December. Thanks for the 10, by the way.
Shonen Kaiju super chatted $10. Still can't believe we are on this run as fans after that 10-year gap. I remember going through the internet for hours looking for anything when I was in high school. Thanks for everything, Rob.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Appreciate you being here that long. Yeah, we're going to properly celebrate the anniversary. It's going to be late. We'll probably not do it till January. because you know everything with the house going on. But we'll properly have a little 10-year anniversary celebration.
You are one awesome motherfucker.
Sunday is rumored to be trailer for Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire, because of CCXP in Brazil. Like I said, I do think that's true. I think they'll show something. I just don't know if they're going to show it here, because every time they show something at CCXP, it's never officially released. It's always leaked. So my guess is if they do show a full-fledged trailer or a teaser on Sunday, I think we'll get leaks of it, and then like a week or two later, we'll get the trailer. Otherwise, I'm still sticking to late January, because that would be 3 months out from the movie, and that's what happened last year with Godzilla vs. Kong. Not last year, 2 years ago. Hey, get your mouth out of here. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. Don't lick that. Don't lick that. There's nothing in there for you. Still remember how many Superman fans keep seeing and coping over the fact that Godzilla beat Superman in the comics. It's fucking Godzilla. What do they expect? Oh, I hit the spot there? Look at you bringing that. Scratching my dog's back. She lifted her leg and started doing that leg kick that dogs do. You're so cute. Come here. Come here. Come say hi. Come here. Come here. Oh, she just wants me. You see her big tail back here? Come here, big girl. I'm going to make sure you guys can get a good shot of her when I set up my new stream room. You'll probably see both dogs roaming around, but I want to get like a camera that shows the room at an angle so you can see the dogs coming in and out. And then I'll just pop it up on screen when they walk in so you guys can see them. See, because look, right now. Oh, I screwed up my... Oh, there she... Okay, there it is. Right now she's sitting. You can't see her, but for a second ago she was right here. Come here, girl. There she goes. Come here. Come here. Oh, you're so heavy. Come here. Come here. She just wants me to rub her back. That's why she won't move.
Daddy.
There she goes. There she goes. There she goes. I love my dog. Oh, I see it's a big lap dog. She's not really a lap dog. She just, I mean, she's chill, you know? She's chill. Don't put away your camera just yet, Rob. I'm telling you, I can feel the trailer is gonna drop, especially since everyone's on a Godzilla high right now. Even if I do, I still got my phone. I've streamed with my phone before. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? Okay, hold on here. It's very gentle. Oh. I also plan to do fire pit outdoor streams in my house. So don't be surprised if we do a couple of streams where I'm just chilling outside with a little fire pit with you guys. You know what I mean? Might even be cooking hot dogs over the fire. Yeah, it's going to be nice. We'll just chill, have like good, fun outdoor chill streams with the dogs in the yard. And oh man, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. My Twitter is at E.T.N Rob. So let me just make sure here. Yeah, at E.T.N Rob. So, and E.T.N is capitalized and so is the R in my name. So O and B at the end are lowercase. Have some beers. Yeah, beers. Yep, all that good shit. Tomorrow I'm going to have some beers. I could use a good drink. Maybe I'll amp it up a little bit, have some, because I still have some vodka in the fridge. But after these last couple of months with all this house stuff, man, shit. Even my wife, like 2 weeks ago, she was like, we need to get some alcohol. She was like, we need some alcohol. She's laughing. She knows it's true. Did you see Elon going off on Bob Iger? Yeah, I saw her call him out. I saw that little clip. Batman to Superman after beating Godzilla. Think, Clark. Think. Now, is Batman still... is he still having prep time for Godzilla, or did we see that? Okay, now I got it. So you're talking about this right here? Is this what you're talking about? This picture? Huh. Shit. Did I just? Okay. Thought I clicked the wrong thing. Then there's this one, which is the other one. Bow to your new king. Not if Godzilla has something to say about that. Unite 2024. Yeah. I like that Unite 2024. It's like they're trying to do the Avengers thing, which is fine. It's all good. Batman best dark side in the comics, which is just insane. That's because that's their money. He's their money person. You got to make Batman figure out how to beat everything because he's like, you know, that is DC and Warner Brothers cash cow is Batman. That's why we're still waiting for a fucking Superman movie again. I know they're working on one, but Jesus, I feel like they do a Batman movie every 2 years. So I know we're gonna wrap things up here soon, but I want to put a poll up because I know a lot of you guys. I want to know how you guys feel about my overall review of -1. Let me see here. Here we go. All right. Okay, here we go. Here's the poll. Vote. Ha! Sucks. Rob, did you oh no, I didn't get to watch it. No. I forgot what I was doing, but I know I was in bed. Well, I went to bed late cuz I had off from work the last 2 days. So I just wanted to chill. I was going to stream yesterday on my birthday, but knowing that I was going to do my birthday stream tomorrow, I was like, man, just cuz we had a long day yesterday, on Thursday rather. Yeah, yesterday. And today my wife did some stuff around the house. And then she just went to a little gathering. I got up late. I slept in a little bit because I needed it. And then I went to see the movie. And then I came home and pretty much set up the stream and chilled for a little bit. Talked to my wife about next steps for the move. And then I started my stream. I haven't even had dinner yet. I'm about to have dinner in a few minutes. Let me see what other, because I know it's not always the same. 8% said my review sucked. 21 said you're insane, it's perfect. And then nobody says sucks, you give it too much credit. So I felt I was fair and balanced. In fact, I think I was praising it quite a bit. I haven't praised a movie like that in a long time. And I didn't expect myself to. I said to myself, I know I'm not going to praise this movie because I want to watch it and I want to be as fair and objective as possible. I still think I was, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it was just fantastic. Just that Act 3 was just a little weak. Just didn't, it was close. Right now, I think you're insane. It's perfect. No movie is perfect. I think it was a great review. I will disagree with a few things, but overall, I do enjoy your review of Godzilla Minus One. Thanks you, Matt. I appreciate that. Agree, Godzilla's definitely going to have something to say about that. Yeah, about him. Yeah, I know what you're referring to, the poster. What time are you going to start the stream tomorrow, Rob? I don't know yet. There are some things we got to do, packing-wise and kind of cleaning up. But what I do know is that when I stream, I'll be on for a while. So I hope to get on like around 6 and then stream to around maybe 10 or 11. I was expecting it to be a bit overhyped. Luckily, I didn't feel that way in the end. Oh, shoot. You were referring to your review of the movie. Oops. I thought you were asking about the thoughts on the movie. Sorry. No, yeah. I wanted to hear what... Because, last time I reviewed a Toho Godzilla movie, it was pretty dramatic response that I got from people in private messages. Oh, you fake Godzilla fan, and I hope you die. I mean, I got... The responses I got were just... absolutely insane. It wasn't stuff like, oh, I disagree with you, I thought it was a great movie. It was shit like, I hope you die, motherfucker. You're a fake Godzilla fan type shit. I mean, it was... People are insane. Let's just put it that way. You found 189 details? No. I found a couple. I found one good one. And that a lot of people didn't find, didn't pick up on, which was the Black Rain. At least everybody picked up on that, but in terms of what it meant, a lot of people were, obviously everybody saw the Black Rain. Nobody missed that. They made it pretty evident. It was a subtle, obvious, something along in the kin of what I would mention about Alien Planet when I was talking about like the parts of the movie where there's like flora. And how subtle but obvious it was. It's a good balance. Just, it's good stuff. Yeah, fanboys in a nutshell. I don't know if you know who Odin Reviews is, but he said something like, don't support the Monsterverse and just support Toho. And he was getting death threats. Are you talking about Odin Creates or a different Odin? Because the only Odin I know is Odin Creates. It's the guy that makes makes anime and movie stuff, and he makes like the real props. That guy's cool. I like him. It's not him, is it? Shin Godzilla is one of the most overrated bore fests I've ever seen. It is overrated, highly. Yeah, I said this earlier. I think the reason that Black Infection was as obvious as it was, I'm almost certain the director thought to himself, no one's gonna understand the significance of the Black Rain because, you're talking about 1945, 46. I mean, that is. What, 70, almost 80, let me see, 46, 56, 76, 86, 96, 2006, 2000. I mean, that's going on 80 years ago. So there's a lot of people, young Godzilla fans, that are not going to understand the significance of the Black Rain. I think that's why he put that on her neck. He wanted to reiterate that while the ending seems bittersweet, it's actually a very sad ending because they're eventually going to die. Odin is OMB reviews. Oh, okay.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?
Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, I didn't hear about that, I should say. I mean, I don't agree with him, but obviously I wouldn't give a death threat. I think the idea of supporting Toho and not supporting the Legendary is, if you want to continue seeing Godzilla movies, I think that's the most incompetent thing to push, because Toho movies alone are not going to bring in the revenue that a Monsterverse movie is going to bring in.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?
That's not, that's just a fact, unfortunately. Like, I think Godzilla -1 is going to do well here, but it's not going to pull in.
Subscribed to the channel.
It's not going to pull in $600 or $700 million. I mean, I went there on a Friday afternoon. I get it, but there were only 7 other people in the theater with me. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think the more Monsterverse movies you get, the more Monsterverse stuff you get, the more Toho stuff you're going to get. Because Toho uses some of the funds and some of the money they're getting from Legendary to fund these movies. Especially when the Legendary movies come out in Japan. All that box office profit goes to Toho. So, I mean, to try and push people not to support Legendary is so asinine. Like, it really does frustrate me, the hate that Legendary gets from people, because it shows just how stupid people can be. Like, don't you understand that much of the Toho stuff you're getting is because of what Legendary is doing? And not only that, do you even understand how happy Toho is with what Legendary is doing? Why do you think Legendary is still making these movies? As long as they make a profit, as long as Toho's happy and business is good, which, let's be honest, business is good, why would they stop? Toho gets a small cut of, a lot of stuff. Primarily when Godzilla's on the screen, that's, they get money for that shit. They're getting money for the Monarch show because they're showing Godzilla in the show. You may not see him every episode. You may not see him for more than a couple of seconds. But when he's on screen, Toho gets a cut. They get a check. Recency bias. Yeah, and that always happens. A new Toho movie, everybody jumps on the bandwagon. And look, it is a great movie. Let's be real. I mean, we all know that. We all agree it's a great movie. But let's not forget why we even have this movie. You got to give Legendary credit. And even if you don't want to give him credit, you could deny it all you want. That doesn't change the fact that it's true. I 100% agree with you, Monkeke. Once that first Monsterverse trailer hits and they show some crazy action sequence and Godzilla and Kong doing like a double clothesline on Scar King, everyone is going to lose their shit. You're not going to hear anything about people shitting on a Monsterverse. You're absolutely right about that. Oh, I'm sure toy sales are through the roof. All right. Anyway, we've been going for 3 hours, believe it or not. It's been a very fast 3 hours. I can't believe it's 9 o'clock. So I'm gonna end here. Final tally on the vote. So majority of you believe that I was fair and balanced. I agree. I feel like I was. A lot of you, 6% of you thought my review sucked. 29% thought I was insane and that it's a perfect movie. And nobody voted for the movie sucks, you give it too much credit, which I knew that was going to happen, but I wanted to put it there anyway. So, yeah, I've heard about the final battle from the test screener. It sounds crazy. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a fun weekend because on top of all these rumors about a trailer, it's the baseball winter meetings, and I'm looking forward to seeing what my Mets are going to do for the offseason. And it's also football Sunday, and I get to see the Dolphins. Who are they playing this weekend? Shit, who are the Dolphins playing? How can I not know this? They just beat the Jets. I think they're... They gotta be. Who are they playing? Oh, they're playing the Commanders. Easy win. Easy win. 1 o'clock on Fox. Okay. That should be an easy game for them. It better be. They better not fucking have a letdown loss. They can't afford one right now. But anyway, all right, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll be here. Gonna have fun. Gonna have some cake, some alcohol, some dinner. Fuck around. Maybe I'll see if I can get some people to show up. And I know it's last minute, but I'll ask around. And we'll have some fun. So, and we'll talk more about any Godzilla stuff. Hell, it'll be a good stream because if something drops, something happens, we'll be here together to experience it. So, and if something big does happen Sunday, I'll do a quick stream so we can talk about it. All right. Outside of that, you guys have a good rest of the evening, and I hope to see you guys all back here tomorrow. And yeah.